How to achieve world peace. To have peace, we will need less war. So let's start with an analysis of global conflicts. We have the Syrian civil war, ISIS, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, China's military buildup in the South China Sea, the Middle East, and of course North Korea's increasing nuclear threat. Next, we identify commonality. In other words, what ties all of these conflicts together? For that, we'll add another column to track how many of these conflicts involve dictatorships. Assad, al-Baghdadi, Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, too many to name, and of course Kim Jong-un. So what can we conclude? Dictators are involved in 100% of these conflicts. But hold on, only about 1/3 of all nations are dictatorships. Why are dictators so overly represented? We could speculate that dictators have revolutions instead of elections, or that dictators have such little regard for the rule of law. But for our purposes, we don't need to know why. We just need to know that it's true, and that dictatorship is the common thread. The obvious conclusion is that fewer dictatorships, i.e. more democracy, equals greater world peace. Next, we'll list the options for spreading democracy. 1. Impose democracy. We could force democracy on other nations, like the U.S. attempted with Iraq, but this approach is clearly impractical. We can't afford to invade every dictatorship, even assuming that approach works. 2. Promote democracy. We could lead the world towards democracy by setting a good democratic example. To quote from The Art of War, a leader leads by example, not by force. So how do we set a good democratic example? It can only start in one place, the United Nations. The UN is by design undemocratic. The UN Charter doesn't even include the word democracy, and the Security Council, a self-appointed group of 5 nations, basically the victors of World War II, have granted themselves sole authority over all matters of global security. To illustrate just how undemocratic the Security Council is, let's look at France. France is a member of the Security Council. France has a population of 64 million. India, the world's largest democracy, has a population of over 1.3 billion, but does not have a seat on the Security Council. What message does this send to India, or to the world? Perhaps the greatest tragedy in this design is the very idea that dictators are somehow legitimate representatives of nations. The most fundamental principle of democracy is that representation is only derived through the electoral process, voting. Pretending otherwise is not a neutral act, as many assume, but instead works against the cause of democracy. This is not leading by example. To set a good democratic example, we need a united democratic nations, an organization where membership is contingent upon the basic democratic principles of free speech, a free press, and free elections. By acting as a certification authority, a united democratic nations would provide a clear objective for those fighting to be free. This is how we promote democracy, and this is how we promote world peace. As Winston Churchill so aptly put it, democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others.